guys, gals, non-binary pals. Welcome to the newly renamed The WIN-terview. The only interview you watching this out there. Do you mean me, Bruce? Yes, I mean you can win. It is now time for me to introduce my guest on today's episode. I'm honored, I am privileged to introduce from HABA, among other things, T. Caires. T, how are you doing?
Good. Also very warm. I'm sorry for the fan and the AC. It's hot, yo. It's hot.
It looks it, but I didn't want to say that. It looks warm because like you're very close. Let's just give the business away. You are clearly in the corner of an attic.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's a very pretty corner of an attic. It's filled with those beautiful HABA games. I promise you, folks, we'll talk about in a second. But that's what it looks like. But you may have had great air conditioning there. So I was like, well, I don't want to just say, I bet it's hot there, but.
No, the problem is this is in fact the corner of my attic. And I like to use this corner because we get great light in the evening as the sun sets and beats heat onto the side of the building/house. However, the AC is just a window AC unit, and it's on the other side of the house, which is entirely in shade and has been in shade for like the last several hours of the day. So the AC is like, I don't need to run. It's fine.
No, it's cool over here.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here with like an extra fan and another extra fan going, please, AC, please. But if I put it there, it'd be like way too loud for
worst case scenario. We're not super professional here. I don't know if you can tell by the backdrop. I'm making game shows in my basement. If you need to dab off, if you need to tent revival preacher, dab off. Just grab yourself a rag and do not feel bad about that whatsoever.
I'll just use the corner of my cape. It'll be good.
Yeah. We'll show that off in just a second, but let's get everybody on board with what we do for the game show portion of this. So let's bring up the board real fast. Tonight's top prize brought to us from the fine folks at HABA is, and I hope I get this right because you just corrected me, Miyabi?
Miyabi.
Yes, okay, I did get it right. Sometimes those parrot moments I can do really well, and sometimes I'm trash at them. So I always get very nervous. If you're out there and you're saying, Bruce, I want to win that. That sounds awesome. I would say this is what you do. Get on any device that's browser-based. Phones and like tablets are best, but I'm not here to tell you how to live. I'm not your dad. Go to crowd.live, enter the code E8BDF. E8BDF. That's how you get in the game. Or if you are especially technologically savvy, down in the bottom corner, I'm not even going to try to direct you to it, but you can see it down there in the bottom left corner, the scan to join. You can also just scan that QR code and that'll take you right directly. Thank you, because your hands are down there and mine aren't. Quick note, Steven clocking in here. We do, if you talk to us, we do bring it up. Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for coming out for the WIN-terview. So we're going to bring that up a couple more times before this is over. Remember, the top score at the end is going to win Miyabi from HABA Games. But let's just start chatting. Wait a minute. Here there we go.
I fixed it.
There we go.
You don't win this one though. This is mine.
So tell me a little bit about Miyabi because I know nothing about it other than it's a beautiful box cover.
This is my precious baby. No, so this is a game designed by Michael Kiesling. It's a tile placement game, which is so weird. Michael Kiesling is so, not known for those. But the cool thing about this game is you are building Japanese style gardens and you're actually building the tiles 3D. So you'll actually start stacking them, and how you stack them will directly affect your score. So people are always like, oh, it's a HABA game, Michael Kiesling. I want to try the lighter Michael Kiesling games. And I'm like, no, this will melt your brain like 2 rounds in. Like, you're all like, this is so easy. This is so cute. Oh, I hurt up so bad. Oh, God. So, yeah. It plays in about 45 minutes. It's ages 8 and up. Yes, your 8-year-old will kick your butt at this. So, yeah, really straightforward. If you like tile placement games, you like the idea of building a 3D tile placement element, check out Miyabi. Or win it during the quiz part.
That's the way to do it tonight, is to win it. But we'll get to that in a little while. I know that Miyabi is gorgeous. Yes, it is. We have somebody here that just like Chris Funk just loves melting brains. That's what he does. And,
Nicole, if you win, I will send you my copy.
There we go. If you win, you're going to get T's copy directly. Forget any of the rest of the stuff we're doing. That's the bounty you set, and that is the prize you are going to win. As a
The one
note,
I've
I see, let me take care of that real quick. I will admit I'm a bit scared of this because I'm dumb. It's opinion questions. We asked T ahead of time. We asked you 20 50-50 questions. You get to pick the 10 that you think would be a conversation you would want to have. And that's what you need to guess out there. So they're opinion questions. You can't really know them exactly, but you're going to take some guesses and we'll see what happens.
If you follow me on Twitter, or if you know me really well, like certain friends of mine who live in Canada, you might be able to know them for sure.
Okay.
I will say.
Okay. Then clearly I need to pick even more obscure and obtuse questions.
You had some really good ones, though. I think there's some good curveballs in there.
I was really happy, and we'll get to it in a couple of minutes. I want to do a regular conversation here, but there's one of them. So you are, I think if I count correctly, you're my 5th or 6th guest on this show. Okay. And I always put in the list, like I put a couple that are character versus character. I put a couple in that are like food things. And then I always put one that's just like an internet meme kind of thing. In this case, in yours, it's a food thing.
Okay.
I always put one in there that I figures the automatic, like everyone will do it. Everyone will go for it. It's always going to be bait. And
I know what it is.
Person in this, I think this is the 6th WIN-terview that has actually done it. Every other time I'm like, why wouldn't you pick that one?
I'm
like,
so excited for that one.
Hate you too.
I am so excited for that one. And if people who are a fan of the Brothers Murph or Girls Game Shelf have been like in recent streams, you will have an advantage. Or no, Gen Con. It was the Brothers Mirth Gen Con stream recently. You will have an advantage for that one. But it's a whole nother thing.
And we're going to jump one more time. We'll jump over here. The game will be in a little while. Once again, we're just chatting. But if you want to jump in and you want to win that copy of Miyabi, you need to go to crowd.live, put in the code E8BDF. And in, I don't know, some amount of time, we're going to jump over and start playing that. But I just wanted to get you ready so I could get you in and get you set. But we'll remind you again before it all starts. Let's jump back. Let's jump back over. Let's talk. Let's chat. First, I want to note, because the cape that you're wearing, yes. I almost wore. I actually pulled it down because I have 2 capes on the hanger. I have that and a gold luchador cape. And I was like, no, I won't do that because, that's fantastic. Show that one off to everybody, because I don't know if everybody even knows about this thing.
This is this is a special cape. There's a big story behind this cape. But this is a Rhino Hero cape.
Okay, that's a cooler one than I have.
Well, so this one is a very unique, special one. Oh man. The first ever show that HABA Games came to in the US was Origins. And I think it was Origins. It was either Origins 2016 or 2015. I think it was 2015. And they had Rhino Hero, and it was the first time ever Rhino Hero was like super available in the US. And Leah, who is the president of HABA USA, was running the show. And she had never run a consumer show before. She had done hundreds of trade shows, but she had never been to a game show, and she'd never been to a consumer a consumer show. Yeah. And so she had like no idea what to expect. And I was vlogging. I used to vlog. I had a YouTube channel, the WIN-tar. I guess technically I still have it. But one of the things that I used to do on my vlog is I would go around on day 0, the main like setup day for a convention, and I would check in with publishers and like get a behind the scenes look at what happens on day 0 at these conventions. And I was going around, and Leah was there with like huge pallets of games all by herself trying to set up her booth, just looking like super like, ugh. So I like throw down my backpack, throw down my camera, and I'm like, how can I help you? And then like I'm unpacking the games. I'm like, oh my God, it's Rhino Hero. I'm so excited. And she's like, how do you know about this game? And I'm like, oh, like my friends know it. We've imported it from Germany. We're so excited you're here. We've been waiting for HABA Games for years. I'm going to buy so much stuff for my nieces. Like, and she's just sitting there going like, okay, crazy person. Needless to say, she offered to buy me dinner at the end of that setup process. We went out to dinner, we talked, we hung out some more. I showed her a little bit of like game stuff. She went and watched my vlogs, then understood how crazy I in fact was. And then a few nights later, I swung by, or a day or two later, I swung by the booth, and she was like, this is crazy. People love us. I was going to make marketing stuff, but now I don't think I have to. And I was like, well, what were you going to do? And she's like, well, I had these like purple capes that I bought from like a party store. And I was going to like, I have this like printed off fabric sticker that I was just going to like iron onto these capes and then have my booth wear them. But I don't need to because we're sold out of the game. And I was like, oh my God, you should have done that. You should have done that. You could have sold those. That would have been amazing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she was like, huh, okay. So she goes out, she goes to dinner, has meetings, whatever. And then she texts me later that night and she's like, where are you? And I was like, oh, I'm playing games in this place. And so she comes in and she finds me, and she'd never been into the convention hall at Origins in the free play gaming after hours, like after expo hours. So she was like, holy cow, this is crazy. There's a bunch of really crazy nerds playing games really late. This is super cool. But she actually brought me this cape because she had gone back to her hotel room and had made this cape. And I like lost my mind. There's video footage of me losing my mind and then wearing this for the rest of the convention as like a scarf, a cape, it's a thing. So yeah, and then she decided, because I was crazy and everyone loved my cape, that they would actually manufacture capes. And so the next show, they actually had capes that were the one that you have, with the bigger Rhino Hero logo, and it's a Velcro safety thing instead of a tie that you can totally choke yourself with. So your cape is better in some ways, but mine, I like the smaller logo personally.
That is just super cool. So like through the grapevine, the talk always is like whenever you go to BGG and people talk about HABA, especially before you got there, it was the Germans do not realize that adult American gamers like this stuff. And then people would be like, well, how could you not? Because every HABA game is the best drinking game ever. I know you can't admit that. You don't even need to give me a look, but I'll say, Bruce Vogel say it. Bruce Vogel, unrelated to anything, Will, that like every HABA game is the best drinking game ever. And like, it was always like, nerds do this. This was a thing. Like everyone just knew it. Like, oh, you have friends that need a drinking game. Oh, we'll send them to wherever they find a yellow box HABA game. And as long as it says it teaches hand-eye coordination, just buy it. Don't even call me. So is that really true? They really didn't expect that like adult gamers were going to be excited about this?
100%. Oh yeah. And they still don't really get it. I had a meeting on Tuesday morning, no lie. And we were doing the game design contest, games. And we had an entry that everybody was like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's so good, but it would be a better drinking game. And I was just like, yeah, but that's every HABA game. And they were like, what? And so they were like, well, maybe we could make it and brand it for like the dads of HABA. And I was like, no, just make it a normal HABA game. It'll sell itself as a drinking game. We don't need to do extra legwork on this.
Yeah, just make it a game about gophers or whatever. And people will work it. I always thought, so there's a game that I don't think is in print. I know in the US it isn't anymore, called Strong Stuff. That I literally thought was HABA knowing what they were doing. I was always like, oh, one person must know enough about the English language to know to make that reference. Isn't that adorable on a game that's clearly made for kids? Like, that's wonderful. So I guess not. Entirely
accidental. Entirely. Well, and I have a great story about that. We have a game. It's coming out next year. I'm so freaking excited about it. But in the game, you have a hammer and you hit the box with the gemstones. And the name of the game in German is Halveg. But the prototype name was basically the German equivalent to like chug a beer. So they were like laughing and they were like, yeah, it's really funny. We're going to change it. So they changed it to Halveg, which is kind of similar to like Smash It. It's you could use it the same way as like a chug it kind of thing. Yeah. But they were like, so in English, they were going to call Smash It. Like you smash, because you smash the game with the hammer. And I was just like, no, but also yes, but no. So we're actually calling the name Hammer Time, which I feel is the best name I've ever come up with for a game ever.
Yep.
And I will be wearing hammer pants at the Gen Con where we have it like released. This is the thing that will happen. But yeah, it's called Hammer Time, and I'm extremely excited.
I didn't think you could beat Smash It. I was about to say, oh, the number of Smash It t-shirts you would sell. But no, I think you did beat it with Hammer Time.
Chris Fuck, that's amazing. You can't touch it. It's so true. You can't.
So let's take a quick look. As you can see, a whole bunch of stuff has come in through the chat. So let's take a look. Let's address some of those things.
There's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, they're welcome to Origins. I'm just gonna go through them. Geeks do love tchotchkes. I love tchotchkes. You can't tell because of my beautiful gold wall, but there's all kinds of random gaming detritus to my left and to my right. Nicole Hoy agreeing. I believe that was on the point that every HABA game with hand-eye coordination is a drinking game. Let's see. I think potentially the most fun has been Go Cuckoo with drinks, even above Animal Upon Animal. I still say Strong Stuff, no joke, I think is my favorite as a drinking game, but they're just all so good.
I now think I'm gonna have Germany send me a copy of Strong Stuff.
Strong Stuff is pretty great. Let's see. HABA is in fact for kids before bedtime and for parents after bedtime. Definitely true. When will Schnapp get reprinted? Is this the one, and I'm trying to remember, where like you flick a disc off of a seesaw and then grown men punch each other in the face?
Basically, yeah. And so this is a question that somebody asked me when I was first hired, and I didn't know what this was, and so I looked it up, and their official answer was like, why would you want to reprint that? And also it'd be too expensive. But now that I've been there long enough, I think I can wheedle my way into this.
Nice.
If enough people keep asking me and remind me, I can make things happen.
Let's say a call for Animal Upon Animal after dark, in the dark,
and
a laugh. What I liked was that I could get all of that and then also get the laugh text in there. That's what made that all worth it. Looks like you have somebody that wants to work the booth. Pamela K just trying to get in there. Note that if you do a HABA After Dark event, it does have to be called Smash It.
Oh, man, you can't though. So that's the problem. So they tell me so I go out there. I was supposed to be there several times this year, but when I go out there and I play the games with the development team, when it's about anywhere from 16 to 12 months before the scheduled release, so that I can give feedback, decide what I want to pick up and bring to the US, etc. And they tell me like the name is this. It kind of means like chug it in German, and we're gonna retheme it, and this is what you do. And so they're like, you take the hammer and you hit the box, and you're trying to get the gemstones to fall off, but you want certain gemstones to fall off so you can complete your like contracts. And I was like, okay, cool. And they give me the hammer, and the name of the game is like, chug it or do it or, smash it. And so I just go boom, and the gems go everywhere. And they're like, you're disqualified because you had too many gems fall off. But I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So when they were like, the name is Smash It, I was like, okay, that won't work for many reasons, but one of which is people will smash it and it just won't work. You'll ruin the game and also be disqualified. So, yeah.
Let's see. There's a note here from Chris Funk. Coconuts apparently makes a dangerous drinking. Well, that's because coconuts at the start is just beer pong with monkeys. It is beer pong.
It is, and I absolutely love coconuts. I just love the monkeys. But it was really funny because we've played coconuts so much that Ichi learned that those coconuts were not edible very quickly. Like, she never ate one, but she would like get excited when food hit the floor, and then eventually she was just like, "Oh, they're playing that damn game again," and like not even get up.
John's happy to hear that Schnapp might get remade. Let's take a look here. Jordan, hey, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to show up and be a part of this shindig. And let's take a look. If you want to volunteer for conventions, just ask the okay, there's a lot of, hey, this is how you become a convention volunteer. Sorry, I'm actively watching the screen, so I'm only kind of grabbing these as I see them. And one note that Coconuts is the best, which it is.
Coconuts is the best. They had that 2-player Coconuts, and I was really in for that. But the problem is whenever we would play 2-player Coconuts, we inevitably had a 3rd player come up and be like, I want to play 2. even when we were like in our house with the doors locked, we would have a third person just be like, hey.
Where did you come from? And did you bring anything with you? And they're like, no, I just saw you were playing this cool ass game and I want to be a part of it.
This is exactly what happened.
I understand.
100% what happened.
Before we kind of get away from the HABA portion of things, is there anything else you want folks to know about what's coming up on the slate of games coming from HABA that you care to share before we kind of let you break that compartment off and get into the rest of your life?
That compartment is my life, if we're quite honest right now. Compartmentalization is the secret to my success right now. And the compartment that is HABA I've allowed it to grow to the size of my entire brain space. So it's working well. But we do have some cool stuff coming later this year. We have Animal Pun Animal Christmas Edition, which I don't have a sample of. But if you like Animal Pun Animal and you like Christmas stuff, the other thing is...
it's more of both.
Yeah, exactly. We have these 2 special edition Animal Pun Animals.
Nice.
These are limited US only. It's US exclusive. These will be in Barnes & Noble soon. It's Barnes & Noble's exclusive for the first 6 months. So 2021, they'll be in your friendly local game stores. But we are allowed to sell them at consumer conventions. And all the consumer conventions have gone online, which means we're allowed to sell them online during weekends of consumer conventions. So if you are interested in getting either Animal Pun Animal Unicorns or Animal Pun Animal Dinos, make sure you follow HABA Games USA on Twitter, because whenever we have a virtual convention, I turn these back on the store. But legally, I have to turn them off when we don't have online conventions happening. So this is a great reason to subscribe on Twitter or follow on Twitter. And then the other awesome thing is Monza. We have a 20th anniversary edition of Monza coming out.
Okay.
Later this year. And if you like Monza, but you always wish there was more to Monza, there will be.
Nice.
There's some advanced variant stuff. There's some cool tokens. There's a second track. There's some cool stuff. So if you like Monza and you want some more Monza 20th anniversary edition.
So there you go. Monza 20th anniversary edition and dinos and unicorns. And hey, what are your feelings about Holly? That's probably coming to Animal Pun Animal. Sure. Sure, why not? It seems like a good idea. Throw it in there. Well,
I think it's just, I was like, wait, is there Holly? No, we have Christmas trees though.
Oh, okay.
There's Christmas trees.
Tree. Now, okay, so then now that we're here, we're delving into this further. Do we also have animals that are dressed for the season?
I mean, we just have animals that are of the season. So there's reindeer.
Okay.
And then there's snow bunnies.
Nice. Okay.
And a squirrel. Okay. My Christmas squirrel is the highlight of my Christmas decorations every year.
Of course.
So
the oft referred to and sung about Christmas squirrel.
Yes.
I can't remember specifically how any of the tunes go, but I know I've heard them because I'm not the biggest Christmas music guy, but they're there. I've heard of it. The squirrel.
Yeah.
Also, a quick note: JohnCon Online is up for the remainder of 2020, so that would be just an every weekend kind of deal.
Just every weekend, it's just on. No, the
in our hearts.
The e-commerce manager would kill me. But we do have, I believe the next online convention that we do have is Aw Shucks, happening a week before Essen Spiel. And then we have Essen Spiel, which will be 78 hours of solid nonstop HABA TV / game playing. If you're interested in that, in multiple languages, we will be streaming in German, English, French, Spanish, Korean, Chinese, both Mandarin and Cantonese, and Japanese. And if somebody else emails me about doing another thing in another language, I will probably say yes.
So let's go. How's the rest of things? How's things past that?
Things are okay. So aside from HABA and HABA consuming my life, we also recently purchased what we are calling the Apocalypse Leisure Vehicle.
Okay, I like the sound of it.
So we purchased a used 2006 Dodge Sprinter, which was self-converted by the previous owner into a van life van.
Nice.
and we are absolutely loving it. It is fantastic. It's a dually, which means that it has 2 wheels on the back axle, and it's a real drive, so we can take that sucker anywhere, and we have. So yeah,
that's awesome.
It's pretty sweet. And one of the reasons we were insanely excited about it was because it is a 4-foot table in the back dinette. And so basically we've decided our goal is to play 4-player Caverna on that table at some point. That is our goal / dream.
Now, is your plan to just find people somewhere where you are? Is it just like have Caverna will travel? Or do you figure it's going to require 2 very specific people and whatever it takes to kind of cross that one off?
Right now we are doing, we're doing a quarantine bubble. So we have 2 people that we have like bubbled with that we play games with in person. And tonight is actually our in-person game night, which I'm insanely excited about. But they actually enjoy camping as well. And so we go camping with them. And so we actually went and played My City with them in the camper van on the table. And it was super awesome. We played 7 games in like 36 hours while camping and hiking and paddleboarding. So yeah.
Very cool.
But we offered to play Caverna, and one of them kind of chickened out. He was like, I don't think this is possible. And I was like, no, we have the broken token insert. This is entirely possible. We can do this. And he doubted. But I think now that we've done a weekend and we've done My City and prototypes and we ate dinner while playing My City, I think he's convinced this table can handle it.
As will he. That's impressive.
We have to, I mean, we had to like put some stuff on the counter, which is like next to the table, but it was doable.
Yeah, but
we
that's
did
reasonable.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me do this real quick. Let me put the board up for everybody so they can see. If you want to jump in and you want your chance to win tonight's grand prize of Miyabi from HABA Games, right there, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and you can win it on any web-based device. Go to crowd.live, enter the code E8BDF. E8BDF to play. As a note, I always forget to say this, and I really should put it on the crawl along with the coffee and the prize. But at all times during the game, stare at your phone. This is a time when it is appropriate. It is the ultimate arbiter. It is the ultimate question asker. It is the scorekeeper. And it's going to move at a different time than we are here because lag is real. Guys, gals, non-binary pals. Lag is real. And so the phone is where you're going to ring in because the faster you ring in with T's correct answers, the more points you're going to get. You never lose points, but you get more if you're faster, and that is what's important in this game. So I'm going to give you a couple more minutes to jump in. We have 11 players in the game right now. Hopefully more will jump in while we're playing. Once again, crowd.live, enter the code E8BDF. E8BDF. So I'm going to ask you one more thing. I'm going to leave this board up there just so people can see the code. I don't want to take that away from them. But so you're at HABA. How did that happen? Because clearly you were super fan, which I 1,000% understand.
Super fan, yeah.
But how did you convert that into now being here in HABA and everywhere and consumer conventions, and how'd that go down?
Well, so it basically is like a series of fortunate events. And so what happened was I did have my YouTube channel, and when I started my YouTube channel, I actually was working full-time as a software engineer. Okay. And eventually my YouTube channel started to get traction, and I was like, I could do this, not full-time, but I could do this and only work kind of part-time tech-wise. So I quit my day job and I started working freelance for different tech companies. And while I was working freelance for different tech companies, I was doing my YouTube stuff. And eventually I started finding freelance jobs in the board game industry, doing tech things or eventually marketing things, customer service stuff, social media management, community management, all that kind of jazz. Eventually I had a really good friend, Nolan Nasser from Deepwater Games, reach out and say, hey, we want to hire you to do social media stuff because we know you do social media stuff. And I was like, sure, I can take another client. We can do this. And what ended up it was supposed to be like I work like 10 hours a week doing their social media. It became I'm working full time and I'm basically the marketing manager and helping them do a whole bunch of stuff because they like didn't know what a press release was. They didn't know how to do any of that. And they also had never worked in the board game industry. They had really great experience in comic books, but not board games. So I like helped them make connections and also just kind of like navigate certain things. And then I had a gallbladder removal surgery that didn't go super to plan.
Okay.
And so that was really awful. And I had some kind of stupid health issues, ended up later being diagnosed with, it's entirely blanking me right now, but it's not a great thing, but basically where my heart would palpitate. And yeah, it wasn't super great. I ended up going to the emergency room at Gen Con in 2018 because I ended up having, I went bariocardic. So my heart rate and my blood pressure plummeted to the point where they were surprised I was conscious. And I was like, no, I'm from high altitude. I can do this. But I was also like loopy as all hell. Anyway, that was a whole nother thing. But we decided, Steve and I talked about it and we were like, the stress of working at a startup, because Deepwater Games is awesome, but they're a startup and that was a lot of work and stress and excitement, but like, oh my God. So it was like, okay, so while I'm dealing with heart things, maybe working for a startup is not a great idea.
It doesn't sound it. It sounds like you would have nearly the experience you had. And this is just on the outside. I don't know from what you're talking about, but if you were to say, hey, Bruce, what is one path this might take? That would have been one of the guesses.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that I decided, Steve and I discussed it, and we decided as much as I liked working with Deepwater and helping bring Welcome to the US and like all this other stuff, maybe I should just like not. So Elle Whittington or Elle Whitcomb, who is one of my really great friends, she took over for me. I quit, stepped away, and I was like, I'm just gonna chill for a bit, get this health thing figured out.
Fair.
Just gonna, so I was just chilling, hanging out, and I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? I'm going to relaunch my YouTube channel. We're doing these board game streams. We're streaming board games. Let's bring my reviews back. Let's do shows and talks and vlogs, and I'll just relaunch my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And then HABA posted a job listing for the games channel manager. And I was like, oh, actually, maybe we do that instead. So that's why I was like, it's a series of fortunate events, because if I hadn't have ended up at the ER with stupid heart things, I probably would have stayed at Deepwater. I would have been very happy there, and I wouldn't have had the desire to apply for the HABA position. But I did. I was currently unemployed, like had no contracts, had nothing, was just sitting there going, oh, I could relaunch my YouTube channel. And then it was like, oh. So yeah, so I applied. Leah remembered me from 2015 with the Cape story. She and I had been in contact. We always like saw each other at every show. And so, yeah, so I applied. They interviewed me. I knew more about their games than they did. They were concerned. Yeah, they were concerned. And then they hired me. So, nice. Yeah.
And that's how it's been ever since.
It has, yes. And it's the US division is a lot more toy focused. HABA, 75% of HABA's catalog is toys. Mm-hmm. And so the US company and branch, they know their toys. They know their rattles. They do that industry. They do very well. And they just kind of like 7 years ago, they were like, well, let's try games. And so they tried games and they were like, oh, this is different. This is not,
these aren't rattles no matter what I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they are super awesome. I love working with HABA USA, but at the same time, like sometimes I'll like say something and they'll be like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, that's just like a thing that this whole industry does. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But at the same time, they'll tell me to do something and it's a total like toy industry toy term. And I'm just like, what is that? And they just look at me like I grew a second head. Like, I have no idea. They were like, and it's always this like funny translation issue thing that happens.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So
I ran into that a lot at Toy Fair. I found that was weird, like being a person from the game side. One of those, I don't know if you fall under this. I always did, where like you have a couple of marks, especially if you somehow find your way into the industry with bunny quotes, where you're like, I got a few things I want to check off. Like I want to do this. I want to go to a Gen Con with a company. I want to go to an Essen Spiel because that's a thing you do when you're a cool kid. And one of them for me was I wanted to go to Toy Fair because the only way to get into Toy Fair is you either have to be like for real legit press. And now it used to be like the first year I went, it was like the Wild West. And if you kind of could prove you had a blog, you could kind of show up. And the next year they clamped that right down and you had to really show some real numbers. So you have to be like real, like the AP or somebody like that to show up. And I went there and I was like, oh no, I was wrong. I didn't actually want to come to this.
No, it's weird. Toy Fair is weird. Toy Fair is very weird because it's like these big mega booths, which are super awesome and have all these cool toys and they're awesomely decorated. And you're just like, this is so cool. And then it's a whole bunch of people in business suits being very serious with clipboards.
Mm-hmm.
And they get mad at you when you touch the toys.
Yes.
And I'm just like, but it's a toy. It's a toy. A woman yelled at me. She did it very politely, but it was my first Toy Fair and I was walking around on setup day and there's a stuffed toy. It's like Frederick's or something. It's a stuffed animal company and they had the most freaking adorable corgis ever. And I walked and I was like, oh my God. And I grabbed it and I hugged it and she came over to me and she looked at my badge and she's like, okay, so I know you're not a competitor with us, and I know that you're probably new, but what you just did was very wrong. And I was like, oh God, I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's okay, but you can't touch other people's booths or toys. And I was like, it's okay. But yeah, she was like, I know you're not a direct competitor of us, so it's fine. And I was like, okay. Okay, now I leave. Like, so weird.
Goodness. Quick note from Andrew. I was like a kid in a candy shop at Toy Fair. My soul is all about the hustle, and I love how business works. So for me, that was exactly my problem because, like, I, in my heart, at the end of the day, am still a kid that goes into like Target and Walmart and like looks in the toy aisle to see what cool wrestling figure came out. I still look at I'm not a My Little Pony dude, but I still look at them because I love toys. And for some reason for me, and I don't know how anybody else feels about this, maybe this is just Bruce, but I can hear faintly everywhere at Toy Fair the sound of children's dreams being minted into money. Mm-hmm. And it's a little gross to me. Because you can hear it everywhere where you're like, oh, yeah, no, kids love this. I don't even understand why. We can make their parents spend so much money that they might lose the house. As a matter of fact, I have a whole blueprint here that shows you exactly how we can refund their house. And you're like, oh, my God. Oh, gross. Oh, get it off me. So that for me was always kind of the problem. And I agree with you. You see the big booths. And then there's a point where if you're just big enough, you have a giant space, and in the center, you have a pink phone and a button. And if somebody's and a guard, and if you're allowed to touch the pink phone with the button, you then get a bus that comes outside and picks you up and takes you to another place where the real booth is. That's how you know where the real money is. Because when I saw the Barbie van, I was like, what the hell's that? And somebody was like, oh, well, if you go up there, there's a phone, and then you call the bus and they take you over to I was like, then they call the bus.
Yeah. And the booths that just have they're these massive booths that are probably 4,000 square feet.
Oh yeah.
And they're just walled off. So it's just white walls. And then it just has the logo on the side. And you have to be on the list. You have to be all this other stuff. You can't get a sneak preview. You can't get anything.
Yeah.
And it's the Lego booth does that. There's a bunch of booths that do it. But yeah, I was like, oh, maybe not. It makes me actually have more respect for the booths that let other people wander through. The K'NEX booth was awesome. They just have this super crazy huge K'NEX building roller coaster tower bridge, London Bridge things, and their booth is entirely open air, and you can walk up and be like, oh my God, how long did this take? And they'll nerd out with you for a bit. Whereas the Lego people are like, do you have an appointment? And I'm like, no, it's Lego.
Spell your whole name. We need to check it against the list.
Yes, exactly.
There's no list. Oh, well, if there's no list, then we don't need to talk. Thank you. Have a good day. Absolutely. So let's take a look. Andrew Smith noting, try to break into the Lego booth. They have their own mafia. You know, they really do have like people with earpieces. Like I never went up there because everyone told me not to. Once I did like the bottom floor of the convention center's like Game World and the bottom floor and then some of the next floor. And I did the bottom floor and had my opinion of The Sound of Children's Dreams. And they were like, oh, if you feel that way down here, don't even, you're going to literally cry if you go up a floor. So like, just stay down here and just be real cynical because the next floor is going to teach you the stuff you really wish you didn't know. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm done.
Yeah, what floor you are on depends on how long you've been exhibiting at Toy Fair. So HABA has been exhibiting at Toy Fair for 30 years now. And so we're on the top floor. We're on the let's break some dreams and make some money floor. And that's not what our company's about. But like there was one year where the booth was like, our booth was squashed between two companies that were doing that big mega wall thing.
Yep.
And so if you were walking down either of the hallways, there was just absolutely nothing in whiteness and just like you couldn't see anything. And then you would open up and it was the HABA booth and it was like, oh, and that was really nice. But for like marketing standpoints from us, that was great. But from like when we were in the booth looking around, there was literally nothing to look at. It was like, oh, that looks cool. It's a wall. Okay. Oh, that's also a wall. Okay. Toy Fair's great.
At least downstairs, you're like, oh, they're trying to make arcade games, and that's a weird Japanese importer. Can I buy anything? Oh, I can't buy anything. Okay, cool. Like, but at least you get to see the stuff. You're like, oh, this is a horse race made out of zombie dogs. That's a thing I'll see in 2 years.
Yes. I remember trying to buy the costume for one of the squishable corgis, and they were just like, what? And I was like, no, but after the show, can I buy the spacesuit costume for the tiny corgi squishable? And she looked at it and she's like, why? I was like,
that is exactly it. That reaction everywhere. You're like, what is it? I can even understand if your response to me is, no, it's too cute. We won't sell the thing off the corgi. But the question of why is very confusing to me.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's an entirely different world. It's so, yeah. And now that I've been in it for what feels like, 7 years, I get it on some levels, but still every once in a while, somebody at HABA will just like make a comment about how a thing goes. And I'm like, huh. But like, huh.
Let's set up for the second half of things. I'll remind everybody one more time. You can jump in at any point, but you're just spotting everybody. Free points if you do. Go to crowd.live, enter the code E8BDF for your chance to win Miyabi from HABA Games. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's appearing on the screen under me. There we go.
I did
it. So here we go. I'm going to say, look at your phones right now. This is the time. Remember, the phones are always the place to be. We're just chatting here, and it's not going to be sunk up correctly. So here we go. Let's go into question number 1. Let me tell the game that we need to begin. Start the countdown timer. Of course I want to start the countdown timer. 10, 8, because 9 never exists. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we start. Question number 1, Rubik's Cube or Jigsaw Puzzle? Rubik's Cube or Jigsaw Puzzle?
Also, Mrs. Do, some people are in Facebook, so the chat that we see is the joining of the two. So we might be responding to comments from other things. Yeah. Jigsaw puzzle, Rubik's Cube. Wow, those are a fast timer. That is a fast timer.
That is exactly why we tell everybody to watch their phones. And if you make sure, like, there's no way anything crazy can happen, or you've watched at least part of an episode. Some folks that come on haven't. So they just, the second the question comes up, they start inherently answering it. So my hope is that if the timer is fast enough, even if a guest for half the show doesn't understand what the flow is, that we still got it taken care of. So the question we had was Rubik's Cube or Jigsaw Puzzle. Let's take a look and see how everybody responded. 5743 for Jigsaw Puzzle. So let me ask you, T, what is it? Why is it? How is it?
Well, what is it would be a jigsaw puzzle. Why is it? Because I can walk away and not feel guilty about not solving it.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, because Rubik's Cubes, I have taken apart a Rubik's Cube before to try and solve it. Am guilty. Have also attempted to peel the stickers off to rearrange it. Am guilty. I also at one point looked up like how to solve puzzle guides and was like spending a lot of my time doing that. Have still never succeeded, even with the walkthrough guides. So jigsaw puzzle, 100% all the time. Jigsaw puzzle. I've given up on the Rubik's Cube.
Let's take a look and see how the board's going. Chris F leading with 95 points, Curse with 90, Josh L with 81, Andrew tied for third. 14 players are here. There's a lot of game to go. Remember, first place gets a copy of Miyabi. The rest of you get nothing. So
Steve would not pick the cube. No, Steve is as stubborn as I am, and he has had a similar experience with Rubik's Cubes, and he will not touch one now.
I understand. I thought it was just me, and I've never acknowledged I got the guide and tried to do it and still couldn't. And I'm like, oh, well, we're done. And one more thing from Miss Do here. So no one's swapping merch. I know up where T is, literally no one is.
Yeah.
In the bottom floor, sometimes, because it's a lot of cases where a lot of us have seen each other at like Gen Con, and it's almost like you have to get the wink and the nod of, oh, I've seen you at a consumer show, so I understand why you don't have manners and you think this is okay. And all of the other like, big boy real game companies, when you say real game companies, real toy companies are like, why would you even think this is cool? Why? And why do you want this trash? It's often like the response of like, why do you want to leave with more stuff than you started with?
Yeah.
Why don't you just take your stuff home?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to jump into question number 2 here. Here we go. Tent or RV? Tent or RV for this one. We've done a little bit of talking. We've discussed a little bit of camping. So this is a perfectly viable question that I'm sure you have a strong opinion on, or maybe not. We'll see in a minute. Once again, we want to thank HABA for tonight's grand prize. That's why you see HABA on each and every slide and on your phones. Remember, if you're out there and you're with a game company, you'd like to sponsor this, let me know. We can put your name up everywhere as well. So let's take a look and see how everybody voted. 69-31 RV. So T, talk to me. Which one? Now you have the urban assault wonderland vehicle.
The apocalypse leisure vehicle. Sorry, we're coordinating pizza delivery plans for game night tonight. I do have the apocalypse leisure vehicle. However, tent. I prefer tent. 100% tent. I grew up doing both tent camping, where you like are at a campground and you put up a tent, and then I've also done the like where you drive 6 miles down a dirt road, you get out of the car, and then you backpack for 10 miles and camp. And I've done the RV where like you have an RV with full solar and all other stuff. I've done it all, and I still prefer tent camping and backpacking. And there is something to be said about the amazingness of our apocalypse leisure vehicle, but our van, there's a reason we want it to be able to drive into the middle of nowhere. It's so we can abandon it and go further into the woods. So yeah, the game table is really nice. We enjoy it. We got it partially because we wanted a solution that worked really well for road tripping. And like we can make coffee and we can sleep in it, and it's a road trip thing, but at the same time it can get us to the weird places in the woods we want to go that our all-wheel drive vehicle could take us. So yeah, we think of it more as like a base camp solution than a like this is where we're living in the wilderness. We can leave it and wander off. So yeah, that one was a trick question.
When I saw the answer, I was like, oh, this is gonna get him. This one I was like, oh, I set that up figuring my original plan was this would be question number 1. You would say RV, and then this is when we would discuss your apocalypse leisure vehicle. That was how I had this planned out before we started talking. And then I was like, oh, well, F me, that's not going to work, but this is going to mess up a lot of people in this game.
Yes, it will. And yes, it did.
Let's take a look at the board. Josh's better half with a $1.54. Josh L in second place, 146. Chris F in third. I like to at least announce the top of the game. Remember, just top person getting a prize tonight. I also like that the Hecaphant's out there, which I think is like an elephant that stubbed its toe, like the Hecaphant. We're going to jump into question number 3. Question number 3, flower garden or vegetable garden? This one has come up before, but I thought you might have an opinion on this. So I
As my husband will tell you, I have an opinion on everything.
And that's what makes this awesome. Although you will see a little later, folks, I often talk about this, is that sometimes, like, I ask a straightforward question, and then I get an answer back that's not exactly the question I asked. You will see that happen once or twice. Pay attention, it might help you. Let's see how everybody voted. So an overwhelming 87-13 for Vegetable Garden, and it looks like everybody knows you. Vegetable Garden is, in fact, the correct answer.
It is true. I've been tweeting about my veggies. My tomatoes are going insane right now.
Yeah, I saw that because it didn't make sense to me. Like, so I'm not an agrarian myself. I am as much a city boy as you possibly can be, but I have grown tomatoes before because, why not? Everybody's growing tomatoes. And it didn't make sense to me because you're like, oh, I took all the tomatoes. Here's more tomatoes. And I'm like, I don't even understand how that works because I feel like they would have been tomatoes yesterday.
Well, no. So I have 4 tomato plants. I have 4 types of tomatoes growing right now. I have a cherry tomato, and then I have a yellow heirloom cherry tomato, and then I have a romaine tomato, and then I have what's called a big boy tomato. I love the name. It's also very delicious, and every time I eat one, I comment on how I'm enjoying that big boy. But anyway,
that's half the reason for buying them.
Yeah. Oh, it totally was.
Yeah.
But you want to pick the tomato when it's very red and ripe. And so basically when you just grab it and kind of just move it just a smidge, it'll fall off right into your hand.
Yep.
And so when I go and pick my tomatoes, if a tomato is not ready to do that, I leave it, for a day or two.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's why some days there's tomatoes and then some days there's way more tomatoes. And then the next day there's way more, even though, I've picked them all kind of thing. Yep.
So let's take a look and see how this changes the board. Josh's better half leading with 241. Josh very close at 227. That feels like it's people in cahoots. Curse at 181. It's 100 points a question, so there's a lot of game left. Deuce's at 173. Andrew at 171. Benny at 165. And I, of course, do that because there's an exclamation point.
So is it that they get more points the faster they answer?
The faster you answer, there's a block of 100 points. And if you come right out of the gate, I think you get almost a full second in at 100. And then the clock starts ticking down and you lose points as you get to the bottom. You never lose points in this game. So if you're wrong, you just didn't score for the question. But it's the faster you answer, the more points it's worth.
I got it. And Josh L. and Josh's better half apparently know me pretty well. I
hope that you know them, only because if not, it's a little strange.
I mean, there's a lot of people that I am very vocal about my opinions on Twitter. So,
we'll see if this holds up. Now, the veggie one I feel like was an easy one. And maybe I should have put it at the beginning because I usually like for the first question to be the one where we just make sure your phone's working. So I probably did these a little out of order, but
we'll see.
It's like week 6. I just realized I should name it the WIN-terview. Question number 4, folks. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Either yes, it is a sandwich, or no, it is a taco. Those are your possible options. There's 2 of them here. It's yes or no. The no, we've even gone so far as to qualify.
Yeah. You've added some definition there, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. 54-46. 54% say yes, it's a sandwich. 46% say no, it's a taco. What say you, T?
It's a taco.
It's a taco.
It's a taco. Look, a sandwich is 2 pieces of bread or bread-like material sandwiching some sort of other contents, ice cream, a protein, vegetables. With tacos, it is 1 piece of breadish or material, right? Folded in half to, cup some sort of filling, which is what a hot dog is. A hot dog is 1 bready thing cupping a hot dog.
So then let's stretch this a bit further because you knew there was no way this was going to be this simple. Let's go through all the different ways we could mess with this because I just want to know because I feel like here's what I like. You are one of the first people I've ever heard with this that had a very clear, logical, sound explanation. So, of course, we have to ask questions. Let's say I take 2 hot dogs, cut them, put them between 2 pieces of bread, and I make like but it's hot dogs are the meat.
Mm-hmm.
Is that suddenly a sandwich? It's just a hot dog sandwich.
It's a hot dog sandwich, yes.
Okay, so that's a hot dog sandwich. Okay, fair, reasonable. Let's say I got a hot dog bun.
Yes.
I put bacon, lettuce, and tomato in my hot dog bun. What do I have?
You have a BLT taco.
There we go. I love how reasonable and straightforward that is.
Done.
I might adopt that. I think you won me over because it's so clear. I can call balls and strikes on that very easily. Let's take a couple of comments on that one, which I expected. You have not seen New England hot dogs. Bun is a single piece of bread in theory only. So we've covered if it goes from one to notably two separate pieces of bread, it changes everything it is.
Yes, it's true. You have to eat it a different way.
The sandwiches in Australia, there's just one piece of bread. So I think the BLT situation covered that.
Yeah.
So they're just an Australian sausage taco, which I think you could sell those out of a truck at Gen Con and make a fortune.
Oh yeah, BLT tacos, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
We had we had a
and I would eat a blataco.
Blataco sounds pretty good, actually. A tackwich. Ooh, yep. Can there be a tackwich?
So at that point, I think then you would take what? You would take the loose ground beef, because I'm going to just decide this is like the one you see on the front of an old El Paso box, because that's just the easiest way to call a taco. So you would have that like loose meat filling and lettuce, tomato, and shredded cheese in between two pieces of bread. And I think that would give you that taco you so desperately want.
This is true. Yeah, it's the taco flavoring, taco fillings, but inside a sandwich.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Yeah. And so we had this discussion. The reason why when I saw this question on your list, I was like, oh, I know this answer, is because we had Monique from Girls Game Shop loves to answer this question or ask this question constantly. And she always picks something decisive. Like she'll be like, is a pita a sandwich? And the answer is no, a pita is a pita. You take a thing, you make an air bubble sack inside a single piece of bread and you stuff it inside. Yeah. And like a pita is a pita. That's what it's called. And then it's like, okay, well, what's a calzone? Because a calzone is similar to a pita, but it's not, because when you make a calzone, you take a pizza and you fold it in half and seal it. So a calzone is a calzone. Like, so then it's okay, well, what is an open-faced sandwich? And is an open-faced sandwich toast? Or is toast an open-faced sandwich? And I would argue that toast is an open-faced sandwich, but not all open-faced sandwiches are toast.
Oh, well, clearly they're not. It's a square rectangle situation.
Yes, exactly. 100%. You get me.
Definitely. What about a cheesesteak? I put it up on the screen because I thought it was an interesting enough question. I think it just sounds like a real meaty taco.
Yeah, it's just a really super meaty taco. That's all it is. Yeah. It's...
Let's see. I feel like I want so desperately that to be the name of a cover band I'm a part of. Let's take a look at the board here. Josh L leading with 308. Drew's at 255. Josh's better half fallen off. I guess missing that one with 241. And just a whole bunch of people with less points. I'm glad. I only hope whoever's in fourth place just doesn't get in the top three, so I don't have to pretend to pronounce the name.
Is cereal soup? That is so good. And the answer is no, because cereal does not I do not put any liquid in my cereal. I eat cereal dry. I absolutely hate when anyone puts liquid in the cereal.
So is your version of cereal trail mix?
I mean, it's more closer to granola, I would say. Yeah. But yes, my cereal is basically trail mix or granola.
So then under the soup that normal people eat, or under the cereal that normal people eat, would that be a soup? I feel like, yeah, maybe. Because I understand that you personally do not eat it with milk, but you recognize that a lot of people do eat it with milk.
But I feel like when you talk about a soup, the liquid to like material in the like filling of the soup ratio needs to be more liquid than filling. And I feel like cereal by default there's more cereal than liquid.
Yeah, but then like, is chili not a soup? Because I mean, like
chili is a chili.
I don't know that it gets that special designation. Like,
I feel chili is closer to a stew than a soup.
Okay, that's fair.
I think, and it also could depend on the way you make chili. Do you like a thicker, like consistency, or do you like a brothier consistency?
And a note, I'll put this up and then I'll move on to the next question. Then prepared cereal is stew, as is noted.
Yes.
I know we're coming back to this, but I am going to throw up the next question. Bar or coffee shop? Thank you, T. 6 shows. You are the first person. This question I've literally asked 4 other times, and 4 other guests have said, no, I don't want that. Give me Godzilla versus Batman.
It's such a good question.
No. Like, that one will probably have to be retired because we're not going to get a better discussion here on the WIN-terview about it than we did this time.
Oh,
like,
man.
do noting, apparently a chili's a sauce. Let's see how everybody voted on this. 92-8 for it being a coffee shop. They clearly know you. Let's just go with that one.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yep. I 100% coffee shop. My saddest thing, there was so I actually prefer to work not from home but from coffee shops. And so everybody at HABA USA knows there's like a coffee shop tour that I would do. So every day of the week I would work at a different coffee shop here in Portland.
Yeah.
And since the lockdown, because the coffee shops, their lobbies are all closed, I can't do that anymore. Which is a super bummer. But the bars, we only frequent one bar in town, and it's the local Pint House. It's a tap room.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll play games in bars. A lot of HABA games in bars. But I love coffee shops. Coffee fanatic.
I completely understand. Leading the game with 399 points, Josh L. Second place, Josh's better half with 336. Zick is in third. And in fourth is Nicole!
Nicole, you're gaining! You're gaining, Nicole!
You're so close. And now I feel bad because my wife is like 3 floors up asleep, and probably she just woke up and is just hoping that Nicole is all right. As we move on to question number 6, chocolate flavored or fruit flavored? We're in a food place. We've done a lot of food talk.
I might have been hungry when I replied to your email.
Fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
Nope.
Or
you were hungry when you asked me the questions?
Not necessarily, but like I always, because I mean, we're in the, like, these are tough times now. So there's always like a bowl of nuts somewhere. So like I'm always in some state of either hungry or actively eating a nut somewhere. So you get it. Like, if I wasn't actively eating a nut at the time, I was hungry. So let's say yes, maybe I was. So let's see how everybody voted. 85-15 chocolate flavored. An overwhelming amount of the group decided that's where we're going. So T, talk to me. Give me the hows, give me the whys. What are we doing? Break some hearts.
Well, so this was really tough because I love chocolate. Chocolate is super important to me and my happiness and well-being. There's actually chocolate in this trail mix. However, I absolutely hate chocolate flavored things.
Okay.
Because if it's not actually chocolate, what's the point? like really, like if it's not actually chocolate, why even bother? So fruit flavored is where I went with that because I will happily eat something that is fruit flavored, but with chocolate flavored, I'm just always disappointed.
I understand. I guess the one thing I really love about fruit flavored things is that's how I can study the dead banana. Like that's do you know about that?
No.
The reason banana flavoring tastes so different than a banana is not just some kind of like chemical horse shit that happened. It is that is from an old banana that went extinct at the turn of the 20th century. So the flavoring was made in like the late 1800s based on that banana. I believe, I can't remember if the new banana is the Cavendish banana or the old banana is the Cavendish banana, but one of them is the Cavendish banana. But the banana flavoring is based on an extinct banana, and now we have a new banana that doesn't taste quite as much like banana flavoring. So I've just always loved that about fruit flavoring. So there you go. There's a little bit of trivia, folks. Take that one home. Oh, that one's free.
That is interesting.
So Josh L. still at 399. Josh L. made no progress. Curse is getting in here. Josh's better half is in third. Where is Mr. Mixaplex? In fourth.
Yeah.
And Nicole, I'm not going to say it as loud. I don't want to wake my wife up. is in 5th. As we head in, we're done 6 questions. 4 questions remaining in the game. Plenty of time to get in. 400 points available. If Josh can miss it all, you can be in worse shape than Pam and win. Who knows what's going to happen? So much time left. The faster you answer, the more points it's worth. Here we go. Dubbed or with subtitles? Dubbed or with subtitles?
Dubbed or subbed?
Dubbed or subbed. I almost wrote it that way, and I was like, let me write the whole thing out in case someone doesn't know what we would be talking about. That made me, for just, I knew you would, but I was like, can I be positive? Let's see what the crowd says. The crowd is 69-31 subbed. So talk to us. The what, the why, the how.
Subtitles are the only way to watch content in another language. 100%. You lose so much when you switch to dub. Like, localization, best voice acting be damned. There's so much, like, the limp synchronization, the true meaning of the thing. Also, it's a great way to learn a language. I actually have Netflix, but I only have Netflix in German. So I actually, when I was in Germany on a business trip, I subscribed and signed up for an account while I was in Germany. So Netflix has my account flagged as a German account. And so they only send me things in German, and it's the best. But I will tell you, I grew up watching anime, Japanese anime. It's like my biggest hobby before board gaming. And I've been watching animes in German with German dubs, but with English subs, so I can try and learn German, because I have accidentally learned Japanese by watching so much subtitled Japanese anime. And I actually learned I was watching Naruto in Japanese with German dubs, and I was totes getting it because I understood enough of the Japanese to get the German.
Let's see. There's a question coming across. What about cartoons? And I think that's, that's more or less what we were talking about.
Yeah, animes. Yeah. For sure. Also, like the Portrait of a Lady on Fire, amazing movie, great movie. If you like realistic timepieces of like European 18th century culture, great movie. It's in French, so you have to watch it in subtitles, and it is really, really good. And I think that if we translated it to English and tried to do it in English, you would just lose so much nuance. So
fair. So I'm going to ask about one other situation. Very specific, not what you should have used to answer this question, but I'm curious your opinion. So what about something like, what is it, Takashi's Castle, that came over Japanese game show, comes over in English as Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. They decide essentially to not so much translate the Japanese, but as just making a vaguely related show that uses the same visuals.
From a marketing standpoint, I understand why they did it and how they did it, but I actually enjoy the original better with English subs.
Okay.
So it's, yeah,
fair.
I tend to prefer, this is also just me, I tend to greatly prefer items in their original form as opposed to the form that has been translated to be culturally significant or better marketed towards whatever the new audience is, which in my case is mostly American. And I've learned I don't super like American culture. So there's that. But fair.
I can certainly I don't know that I share that opinion with you, but when someone says that, I can't say like, oh my goodness, how could you say? No, I get it. It makes sense. Let's take a look at the board here. Josh L. leading with 482. Josh's better half. 428. Curse with 357. Top player only getting Miyabi. Still game to go. Still 3 questions left. Plenty of time on the clock if you're in the lower half to potentially get into this thing. So here we go. Question number 8. Dragon or unicorn? I had to give you some character questions.
This is such a rough one.
I thought it might be. I picked, when I looked at the end of yours, I realized I hadn't pop cultured yours up a ton. And I was like, let's just send it.
I don't do pop culture though, so that's okay. Like, I don't honestly do pop culture. American pop culture extremely do not do.
That's awesome. I'm not going to lie to you. This was partially an accident because sometimes those of course sneak in where it's like, oh, is it King Kong or Godzilla? Is it Batman or Superman? And when I looked at the end, I was like, there have been none of those.
Well, I got rid of them, but like, dragon or unicorn.
Yeah, clearly a thing going on here. It's a real question. Let's see how everybody answered. This is almost as split down the middle as you can be. 43-57 for unicorn versus dragon. Unicorn leading just barely in the exit polls. T, what's the answer?
I'm totally a fire-breathing dragon. Dragon is how I will finish that sentence.
I was waiting. I was like, what is this even going to be? There's only two answers. Is this going to go way off the rails?
No, I love dragons. I love dragon like lore, history, all that kind of jazz. Love dragons. Unicorns, I'm just kind of like, they're cute. They're okay. I get it. I appreciate them. But like a dragon can fly. Just can fly. Flying. Also fire breathing, big teeth, big muscles. There's so many different types of dragons. Oh, there's a book, a series, and it's over there and I can't see it. And it's obviously a fictional series, but it's a memoir of a dragon scientist, and she's female and one of her kind. And like, it's all about how she learned and studied and discovered a new species of dragons. And how she had to like fight for her place in academia, and it like has in the margins of the book like sketches from her notebook of like all the dragons she found in the wild, and it's so great. I can't remember what it's called.
One note, a question to I guess you and or both of us. Have you seen Shaolin Soccer? Not Kung Fu Soccer, the American version, Shaolin Soccer. I have
not.
Because if you can find like a martial arts movie but ridiculous. Don't give me a reasonable martial arts movie. Give me like a wrestling squid and I'm suddenly in. Yes, I have seen Shaolin Soccer. Yes, it's amazing.
Nicole knows the book series.
Yeah, there we go.
Nicole knows it. You know what I'm talking about.
And I love that the follow-up to help us was just banging on the keys. It was just straight up key banging. It was straight up kitty cat key banging. That's what we got there.
Oh,
what is it, Nicole? Once you know, we want to know.
That's it.
There we go. A Natural History of Dragons.
So good. Every once in a while, I like think about that series. It's so good. There's also the like Aragon series, which is okay. The Natural History of Dragons just like totally out of the park on that one. I love that series.
And then it looks like Andrew, we sold some books. I don't know if we moved any games, T, but we sold some books.
You know what? Whatever brings you joy is what I want to do. I want to find you things that bring you joy. I'm trying to like look at my bookcase. We did like a big that the Joy of Things whatever book. We did that purge and got rid of a whole bunch of books. So I only have like certain books, and I'm like, there's definitely Animal Upon Animal. My very first games edition is blocking the shelf that has the majority of my books on it, and I'm so bummed right now.
I'm sorry. If it gets too bad, don't feel like you can't stand up and go look. Don't feel like it's that important. We're going to ask a question. People's attention is going to be diverted. Do not worry about that. Nicole's trying to claim a victory already for knowing a thing that's just tangentially related to the game. That is not how this works. We're moving on to question number 9, folks. Here we go. Sasquatch or the Loch Ness Monster? Sasquatch or the Loch Ness Monster? Quatch, if you'd prefer. But it sounds kind of dirty to me. But Quatch, if you'd like. I'm not going to tell you you can't, but it's also not necessarily an option. So it's out there. Now, normally, if left to my own devices, I would give you the brand name. I would say Bigfoot if I was the person that could do this. But no, sometimes that's not how it goes. Let's see how you answered. Exactly 50-50. The middle. Nicole is trying to get bonus points. I just want that acknowledged. No. I appreciate it. No. So 50-50 on Loch Ness Monster or Sasquatch. Now, we noted a second ago, if, let's say, I wrote the question, I would have written it as Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster because I love monster trucks. That's really the reason. So talk to me here. I'm just going to do that. We're just going to acknowledge it's Sasquatch right now because that was your answer and you corrected the question.
I did, yes.
About this.
I live in the Pacific Northwest. I live where Sasquatch lives.
That is true.
He has become extremely popular in outdoors culture, etc. I've seen him on some marketing stuff out on the East Coast, and I'm just like, but he doesn't live there. He lives here. I was camping with him like 2 weeks ago. You can't. No, he's also very nice. We have a picture of the Sasquatch and his family in our Apocalypse Leisure vehicle, so people can really get into the mood and also know that we do have a good relationship with the Sasquatch. If they're out in the national forests or, the Bureau of Land Management's land, and they see him, we're on good terms. He knows the band. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And that's all you could really hope for as these times get real strange,
mm-hmm.
is that Sasquatch is on your side. I know there's a minor league baseball team y'all have out there that uses Sasquatch. It's not the Everett Aqua Sox. It is I think maybe the Eugene Emeralds. On one of their hats is, because they were an E for Eugene and Emerald, and then they changed it to Sasquatch walking through a bunch of trees and eating another one like broccoli, I guess, or a carrot. That's a thing to check out. If you're out there, check out that hat. It's well worth having.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's a heck of a thing, and I think there might be just like one of his face, like drinking a cup of coffee or something. I think it's one of their other hats. That's well worth looking at. Let's take a look and see how this changes the game, if it does at all. Josh L leading with 654, which I say it real loud because it seems like a lot of points, but who knows? Josh's better half with 523. Yuf's at 497 in third place. We're heading into the final question of the game. It's worth 100 points. So it looks like we know who our winner is, but maybe it's worth more points. You don't know. There's only one way to find out, and that is to answer it. Final question of the game: Paris or Amsterdam? So the first question I'll ask you is because you've gone to Essenspiel, right?
Yes.
So then on the flight, if you're like a lot of us that have done that, you're like, oh, well, for business, I have to be in Essen, but there are no flights that go to Essen. Gosh darn it. I guess I'll have to go to an unrelated European city where I'll just have to. And if I just lay over for 2 days, the flight 2 days later is even cheaper. So this is pretty much which of these cities do you pick as your layover before you head over to Essen? So Paris or Amsterdam? Let's see how the crowd goes. Woo! 93-7 for Amsterdam. I'm going to just go through the formality as a game show host of asking you, hey, T, what's the answer?
We've looked into property and purchasing property in Amsterdam.
It is such a beautiful city.
It's great. It's basically the Portland of Europe. We love Amsterdam. Steve and I are always down to go to Amsterdam. We've actually been in Europe with absolutely no plans to go to Amsterdam, and then still ended up on a high-speed train to Amsterdam for a weekend. So yeah,
that's the way you should do it. And that was the thing, like, because the one thing, Amsterdam and the marijuana everywhere, and like that is not my scene at all, and it is everywhere. And still, I was like, who cares? The city's amazing.
Yeah, well, and it's so funny because people are like, oh, you're going to Amsterdam? You want some, you're going to get some, you're going to smoke some weed? And I'm like, I'm from Portland, Oregon. Weed's legal here too. I can walk 4 blocks in any direction and hit a dispensary.
So like, it's not fun to me.
No, it's not fun. And actually, I'm actually super allergic to grass and like trees and turns out weed and weeds. So it's not fun at all. But I also, speaking of coffee shops versus bars, this is really funny. The first time I ever went to Amsterdam, I got so mad. I was deprived of caffeine. I was jet lagged as all hell. I was hungry. And I was like, let's just go to a coffee shop so I can get a coffee and like a pastry and like just do this because I love coffee shops. I love to travel and go to local coffee shops. And everywhere I would look up coffee shop and walk in, they didn't serve coffee. They reeked of weed. And everybody was looking at me confused. And that is where I learned in Amsterdam, a coffee shop, something labeled a coffee shop, is actually not a coffee shop. It's a weed bar. So you have to go to a cafe. The word you're looking for is cafe when in Amsterdam. And it's a holdover from way back in the day when marijuana was illegal. And so they would brand themselves as coffee shops and then actually just be marijuana shops. But yeah, I was so angry. I had like, Steve was with me. I had like a sobbing, crying, jet-lagged breakdown. I just need caffeine. And somebody like walking past on the street was just like, what's happening? And Steve explained it. And the person was like, oh, you want a cafe? You want a cafe? And then they'd walked us to a cafe like around the corner. So yeah, but since then I have learned this and I still really like Amsterdam.
It is such a cool city.
It's great.
Because that was one thing. And then if we're going to have the Amsterdam talk, so the two things I expected walking into Amsterdam were marijuana. It was everywhere. Okay, got it.
It is everywhere, yeah.
And prostitution. Like I expected I expected the red light district to be more impressive than it was. Because we walked by, because we're tourists. We're American tourists. That's what you do. You walk there. Yeah. And we're like, oh, this is it. Okay, cool. We were there on a Monday, so maybe I've heard it's more spectacular on a weekend, and there's maybe just not the money to get on a Monday. But on a Monday, I wasn't impressed. I was like, eh.
It's not great. And if you walk by the red light district during the day, it's actually just extremely disappointing and sad and depressing because there's just like drunk people that are hungover from last night, vomiting. It's not a pretty sight.
It becomes like Bourbon Street.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to see Bourbon Street in the light.
No, you don't.
That's not how that's supposed to be experienced.
Yes, yes. And Nicole says museums. Yeah, the Amsterdam museums we love. We've been to Amsterdam, I think 5 times now, and we still haven't hit all the museums. They have a city pass, an Amsterdam city pass, which I highly recommend if you're going to Amsterdam for 24, 48, or 72 hours. Just buy the pass of your size because you get public transportation for free and free admittance to a lot of the museums. The Amsterdam City Museum is fantastic. You'll be like, oh, it's a free museum. I don't want to go. And it's like, no, you do. It's actually really cool. They have some cool exhibits. They have some cool stuff, some like great history about the marijuana stuff if you're interested in that, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
So there you go. There you go. So if you've taken nothing away from this entire discussion, if you get the chance, if you are able to do it, visit Amsterdam. It's fun.
It's nice.
So let's take a look at the end of the game. I think we know who won, but it's my job to put it up here. Josh L. went in the game with 706 points, a 101-point victory over Josh's better half, Nicole! Getting in 3rd place, that's fantastic work, especially considering you've been drinking wine and started late. So I think that's pretty good, all things considered. To everybody out there, thank you so much for taking the time. Oh, Josh, contact me on Twitter. At BG The Game Show, at Board Game The Game Show, at BG The Game Show specifically, and give me your address and we'll get that taken care of. I'll send it over to T. We'll get everything. Now
that I see a comment from Josh L and I see Josh's last name, Josh, I totally know Josh. Josh used to hang out and watch our streams a lot. So this is why Josh knows so much about me.
So everybody out there, thank you so much for taking the time. We will be back next week. Watch our social media. We'll tell you everything about the prizes and the people and all that good stuff. Nicole, knowing, bless that stranger that found you to that cafe.
Seriously. And Amsterdam is so nice. We were biking around Amsterdam like last year, I think it was, and we were totally lost. And we were trying to go to a game store and we didn't know where it was, or maybe it was a breakfast shop. I can't remember. And we had a woman, we stopped, we were looking at a map. She biked up, stopped, asked us what we wanted. We told her, she said, oh, it's this way and then this way. And then we went that way. And it turns out that was the wrong direction. And we were standing there going, this is where she said it would be. And then she showed up. She actually realized as she biked away that she gave us the wrong direction. So she turned around and came and found us and then took us to the correct place. And we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And she goes, no, it's totally cool. You're fine. Like, this is, you enjoy, etc. And we realized like, that's just Amsterdam, the people that live there.
People that live there.
If you're like genuinely trying to enjoy their city, not from like a frat boy kind of like way, they are fantastic and so helpful, and like they really want you to appreciate like the nice local spots. And so we've found with Amsterdam, the more we go, the further away from the central train station area we get, and the more we love it. So yeah, sorry.
It is such a cool place.
Amsterdam's fabulous. And actually, some of our best friends here in the US in Portland that we met, we like got to know them really well. And we're like, you guys are so great. And then we found out they actually used to live in Amsterdam. And we're like, this is why we like you.
I get it now.
Yeah.
Well, T, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, especially with a game night coming up and pizza ready to go, that you would continue to chat with me here. Thank you so much.
This has been super fun. I haven't smiled this much in a really long time, so thank you. My cheeks hurt.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, everybody that took the time to watch this. Remember, we will be back next week. We'll also be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. with its quiz time. It's just trivia. You can win something. Check it out. Between now and the next time I see you, for the love of all that's holy, go play something. Bye.
Bye.